All right, let's get on to this topic here. So we're gonna be talking about the sudden event, sudden death that is
Yeah.
for of Prigozhin, which, by the way, it was only a few days ago. Uh, the video that made it to the internet, as far as him being in the deserts in
Yep.
Africa. So he flew back to Russia in just 48 hours after that. So where do we start with something like this? As
Oh,
one who worked in Washington, D.C., there is a lot of sometimes don't jump to conclusions. I remember when we did the video last time
yeah.
and we said, hold on a second, do not jump to this conclusion right away.
Right.
So things might not seem what they appear to be. So I'm not saying they are now working on confirming through DNA he's
Yeah.
dead, because as you may know, guys, this is nothing surprising to you. Whatever doubles,
Mm-hmm.
it's normal, especially in the world of intelligence.
Mm-hmm.
I won't be even surprised, and this is just me thinking outside the box. I won't even be surprised, hypothetically, if it's not confirmed, that he might just go with a different ID, okay,
Yep.
identity,
Absolutely.
facial changes.
Yep.
I was aware of one guy that we've been looking for 25 years.
Wow.
That's 25
Yeah,
years.
that's a long
We,
time.
or the reason why we couldn't pinpoint him is because he went ahead and did a plastic surgery and
Wow.
changed completely.
Yeah.
There is no way we could have even 25
Yeah.
years. There we got him in Damascus. That's where
Wow.
it was, out of all places. And he was walking at night, just taking a walk.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, out of all places. That's my point.
Yeah.
And by the way, the guy's name is Ahmed Mugnia.
Mm-hmm.
It's a long story that goes with the hijacking of a plane, U.S. Plane at the time, and so Google him up later on if
Yeah.
you find. Just my point. Do not jump to conclusions yet. So, yes, the plane went down, and as a matter of fact,
Mm-hmm.
there is an image of the plane here. I'm going to share it with you guys quickly here, if I find it.
That's okay.
Sometimes I just have so many things racing in my brain, but
Well,
well, no, I have it. I have
okay.
it because I have it on the screen. So I'm gonna just share the screen with you guys
Okay.
just to see and share. Yeah, can you guys see it?
Yes, there
There
it
we go,
is.
right
Well,
there.
it's
So
loading.
that's the plane.
Yeah.
Why are we sharing this with you?
Yeah.
To highlight to you, at least to understand the dynamics of what took place.
Right.
And this based on this morning, just reading, I had to read some stuff about. I have my sources
Yeah.
where I
Yeah.
look for stuff. So here is what happened. And again, I am not confirming 100% that Prigozhin's dead. There were two minor explosions before
Right. Right.
the plane caught in fire in the back, not in the front.
Mm-hmm.
And right when that happened in the back, the right side of the plane, the right wing,
Mm-hmm.
went down. That's
Yep.
what that image is.
Yeah.
So questions arose. Is this a missile attack?
Right. That and you're absolutely
Yeah,
right. That is the fundamental question. Do you want to watch the plane go
sure.
down? It's rough to watch, guys, but I think it's important.
Our
to see it.
sponsor, C60 Evo, for today's show is a part of a movement I really support. That is natural health. People are talking about a breakthrough anti-aging remedy that's energizing them all day long. Many report that with just a teaspoon of C60 Evo olive oil, they experience enhanced mental focus, increased flexibility, and better physical endurance. It's surprising how quickly some people feel improvements. And many also mention experiencing deeper sleep at night. Others praise the peptide and ESS60 hair and skin renewal formulas, raving that they really do work. C60 Evo's lab has been manufacturing this Nobel Prize-winning miracle molecule for 32 years in their Houston, Texas Patriot Lab. ESS60 is the upgraded version of the carbon-60 molecule, specifically made for people and pets. It's potent and effective, and people's lives are improving around the world. And it has hundreds of 5-star reviews on Amazon. Maximize your health and enjoy noticeable results with C60 Evo's organic edible oils, skin serums, and pet products. Buy with confidence from C60 Evo and use my personal code for a discount at checkout.
Important to see it. So this is a video. There are actually a couple of these videos out. A couple of people caught this on camera, but this is one of those videos.
В 2 раза взорвалось, падает. Ты посмотри, падает.
And that's exactly the picture that you showed, David, of
Yeah.
it
В 2
going,
раза
it's
взорвалось,
going
падает.
face down.
Ты посмотри, падает. В 2
Crazy, right?
Yeah.
раза взорвалось.
So this is where I would tell you
Oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
to remove that.
Yep.
So this is where the idea of just understanding the dynamics. We don't know if it will be a missile. If it were a missile, the question becomes is whose missile was it?
Yep.
Was it a Russian missile? Or was it a foreign missile? If it were a foreign missile, that's bad news for Russia in its entirety. Why? If a missile is able to violate or break through the airspace of Russia, that's
Right.
bad news, which I don't foresee that.
Yeah.
The third option that is left is, did somebody sabotage the plane? If
Yep.
it was somebody sabotaged the plane, that would be from within. If it is from within, that means against Russia itself.
Yep.
So that's why it's so hard to say something definitively. So
Yep.
that leaves you with another fourth option. And if is this to be happening inside, who was behind it? Was it the because Russia has the same structure we have in the military. I was in the military intelligence in the US.
Yeah.
Russia has the same thing, their military intelligence. Was it FSB or was it the missile defense organizations within the military?
Yeah.
Hard to tell at this point. So what is factual, in my opinion, and I speak for myself here, what is factual is that Prigozhin made the mistake back then.
With the coup?
He made the
Yeah.
mistake. First of all, signed his own death warrant.
Mm-hmm.
Why am I saying this? Analyzing it, put it under the lenses of the international stage.
Yeah.
It was a big blow to the Russian president.
Yeah.
And right there to me became clear, it's just a matter of time.
Yeah. And that actually lends itself towards your theory that he may or may not be actually been on that plane, is because he had to have known. So, there was a big question about whether that coup, whether that was real or whether it wasn't
staged. Yeah.
Right. And we know that there was some money missing, I think, from the CIA budget at the time.
Exactly.
There was a bunch of factors that led to maybe it was real, maybe it wasn't.
Yeah.
But if it had been real, if it was real, Prigozhin had to know the outcome, right?
Yeah,
he had to know what Putin would have done if that was the case. And it's interesting because the Wagner Group itself is calling it a murder assassination. So the Wagner Group, so they have a Telegram channel called the Gray Zone. So they are calling it a murder. So they're saying the murder assassination of Prigozhin will have catastrophic consequences. The people who gave the order do not understand the mood in the army and the morale at all. Let this be a lesson to all. You always have to go to the end. And that's from their channel. So technically, the bodies of Prigozhin and his second in command, Dmitry Utkin, have been identified.
Yeah.
And it's interesting to me how quickly that's happening, right? So the Russian media is coming out and saying, is actually coming out and saying two things that I think are very interesting. And I want your take on this too, David.
Yeah.
So there was an American, the chair of UK Foreign Affairs Select Committee, Alicia Kearns, said, the speed at which the Russian government has confirmed Prigozhin was on the plane that crashed on a flight from Moscow to St. Petersburg should tell us everything we need to know. So that's an interesting take that I am actually very interested in. But then there are other options that are starting to come out in Russian media saying that it was an explosion on the plane.
It was before the contact. This is why a lot of people might get this confused. They are tactical. What's the word I'm looking for? Sometimes you know when you have a plane like we have it with, for example, Air Force One. Air Force One has some capabilities for it. For example, if let's say hypothetically a missile is aimed at the Air Force One can release certain targets that will just, the missile will end up hitting that
Right.
target, not that.
Right.
So what happened with this plane here, the two explosions, the two small ones, this is based
Mhm.
on what I read, the two small ones happened before the third
Yeah.
contact, which the third contact where the back of the plane ends up being
Right.
burnt.
Right.
That is what I'm referring to.
And the Wagner Group actually agrees with you on
Yeah.
this. They put on their gray zone.
Yeah.
It claimed that Russian anti-aircraft defenses shot down the plane. So that's what they're saying. Wagner is saying Russian anti-aircraft defenses shot down the plane, and it said the residents of the area, because this is a residential area, right? That's how you have all these videos.
Yes. Yeah.
The residents heard two bursts, exactly what you said, David,
Yeah.
two bursts of characteristic air defense fire.
Right.
So it seems like they'd heard this before. This wasn't the first time that they had heard sounds like this before the crash. This is confirmed by inversion traces in the sky in one of the videos. So I think, there's in some of the videos, there's extra smoke.
Yeah.
There's extra smoke from different places that are clearly not from the plane that's spiraling down.
Mm-hmm.
And the news, okay, so the same report cited a Western official to say it was anti-aircraft missile that struck the private jet. A Western official said that they had been told the plane had been brought down by a Russian anti-aircraft missile system, but could not confirm whether Prigozhin was on board, adding, Putin doesn't take prisoners, which I believe. If I'm being honest, I believe that Putin doesn't take prisoners. I believe he doesn't bluff. And I don't know whether he did it or not, but I don't think it would be out of the realm of reality that he would do it.
I see what you mean. Yeah, the idea of challenging. That's why I said last time. It's the idea that Prigozhin mounted that, whether it was staged or not.
Right.
Some will even argue to the point that even if it were staged, it will have to have an objective, and the objective was maybe for the Russian president to get rid of the guy, because power gets into Prigozhin's head and stuff. Because remember, Prigozhin doesn't have one company.
Yeah.
Or didn't have, if he's the one that is dead.
Yeah.
They were in multiple companies. I mean, he became a household name inside Russia.
Yeah.
So as far as wealth and as far as... So could it be that to Putin, this could be potential threat down the road?
Yeah.
Maybe, maybe not. Whatever the case might be, in my opinion, the moment Prigozhin decided to take over the two military installations in Ukraine, they were under Russia, and threatened to march to Moscow. That's to me that's it. He signed his warrant, his death warrant. Why? It's because under the lenses of international optics, that looks bad for a Russian president.
I think you're right.
I think that's the way I look at it. So the Russians, the Russian president at this moment, we're just thinking outside the box here.
Yeah.
So by second thing, by the way, before I forget, second thing that could also support this argument is that when the video of Prigozhin emerged, he's in Africa, maybe that was done without the consultation with the Kremlin.
Right.
So Russia does things under radar.
Yeah.
The last thing they want is to expose their presence.
Right.
We all know they are in Africa. And that's
right.
This is why ECOWAS now is thinking twice. France is thinking twice. As a matter of fact, the whole problem in Niger, it's not about Niger anymore.
Right.
It is the proxy war between Russia and NATO.
You're absolutely right.
That's what it's all about. So could it be that Prigozhin, when he shows on that video holding his weapons in the desert there in the Sahel, that's just kind of Putin saying to himself, oh, this is going to become trouble now.
Yeah.
Maybe time to make a decision.
No, and you're absolutely right. And I think it's an interesting choice. So yes, Prigozhin did embarrass Putin sort of on the global stage.
Yeah.
That's a bad call. No matter what, I think that's a straight up bad call, because he's not just gonna, if there's anything that Putin does, he doesn't bluff, for better or worse, right? I'm not defending him, and I'm certainly not defending him if he killed someone, right?
Yeah.
Certainly not defending that. But embarrassing him and Russia on on the global stage
during the Ukraine
during the
conflict.
Ukraine
That's
conflict.
what's bad.
That's
true.
a really rough thing to do, and he had to have known that was what has happened or not, whether he is dead or not, that was just an ultimate,
Yeah.
But he's been seen in and out of Russia since, right? So he was exiled, and then he was in Africa,
in Belarus,
right? And then he was back in Russia. So, what are we looking at?
That's why, because you have to think of the Wagner Group as one of the tools for Russian foreign policy. I mean, we do the same. We have the same thing. So, I mean, we have them all over. When we worked and when we were in Afghanistan and Iraq and Yemen and other parts in Africa, whatever, it's not the U.S. military per se.
Right.
It's the special contractors. That's most, some countries, or majority of them do. For Putin, Wagner Group was like, okay, one of the tools by which, that's how he was able to, Russian president was able to cement a Russian presence in Africa. Is through the Wagner Group.
Well, and that's the question, right?
Yeah.
So if that was going well, because we all saw that Wagner was a good ally for Russia in terms of where they got to in Ukraine. So were they no longer useful? I mean,
which I won't see that, because Wagner will always be useful because of what the group is able to achieve on behalf of the Kremlin. Because remember, the group it's not like a loose dog per se.
Right.
It was some sort of, the Russian president stayed behind, because this way we do the same, almost government, it's to what we call deniability. So you don't get too close to they were able to achieve few things. And this is where the concern, again, the way I see it, the concern in Africa was, once they heard that Wagner is coming, calculations have changed.
Absolutely.
I mean, do you hear anything about military intervention now?
Nope, sure do not.
You don't. That is my point. Because again, that Niger came to represent the proxy war between Russia and NATO.
Yeah.
Otherwise, why is NATO expanding in the Sahel region through Mauritania?
So
now what is happening now is the statements by outside world from the comedian President Zelensky. I did find the one. I had to translate it from a foreign language. So what he said in Kiev, Ukrainian president, I always add comedian.
I've always done
that. So if I met him, I say, hey, hello, Mr. President comedian. So comedian Vladimir Zelensky on Thursday denied any involvement in Prigozhin, and I put this in quote, alleged death. So now, if you learn,
we're not the only ones thinking that, huh?
That's the thing. If you learn, this is why I'm saying, do not jump to conclusions. The DNA is gonna, whether confirmed or not. They can manipulate the reports. We all know that's happening.
Right.
The one thing that I am certain of in the world of intelligence, if somebody disappears, he or she can disappear.
Yeah.
We're not talking about growing facial hair, whatever.
Right.
We're talking about surgical. You change your look altogether. There is no way. Like I told you, it took us 25 years, a quarter century, to find that guy. 25 years. So you hear now from even our esteemed president,
who, by the way, there was a quote, I wish I had it, but it was something like Biden at one point told or said to the media that Prigozhin should watch what he was eating to make sure that he wasn't poisoned, more or less. And I was like, that's an interesting.
Coming from
a president, but
he got a point in this to a degree, because usually this is why I said earlier, till you know which entity, hypothetically, if there was to be Russian operations, we don't know at this point.
Right.
I can't speculate. I'm just talking based on what I know as far as how things have worked in the past. Depends on which entity involved, will tell you the manner by which. What am I referring to here? I'm referring to the guy who fled from used to be a KGB spy, and he sought asylum in England
Yeah.
all these years, and FSB was waiting till
Mhm.
they got to the guy. All they did was they dropped plutonium 234 in his drink,
Oh.
and it was
And he
out.
was done. Yeah.
That was it. So that just and that was FSB.
Yeah.
Wasn't the military intelligence? Wasn't the Because to me, well, it's like when you conduct this kind of ops, you want to leave the minimum traces.
Yeah. Yeah.
Something like this.
It's a lot of
it's still-
traces.
yeah, it's still. This is why
Yeah.
you kind of, for now, suffice it to say, just hold the judgment
Mhm.
till more information comes out, and even when more information comes out,
Yeah.
it's hard to tell at this point. That's
Yeah.
exactly what happened, for example, with MH plane. Remember the one that went down in Indonesia, whatever?
Yeah.
They never knew.
Yeah.
It's kind of it's in his case. At least one thing I'm convinced about is that the moment he crossed that line, it became
Yeah.
clear to me, just a matter of time. So,
Right. A matter of time until he was very, because this wasn't just taken out, whether he is or isn't, right?
yeah,
This wasn't just taken out. You brought this up just now, David. It was publicly. So
That's the
number
thing,
one,
yeah.
it was done in front of a bunch of people.
yeah.
We have videos of the plane going down because it was done in an area that was populated.
Yeah.
There are
Which you-
people everywhere.
Which usually, if you want to neutralize somebody, you don't do it.
You don't
in
do
the
it that
open.
publicly.
Yeah, and
right?
you will make sure as much as no traces are
Right.
getting back to you. So
They wanted, whoever did this,
yeah.
wanted people to know
know.
that it happened.
Yeah. It is also undeniably, and
Yeah.
again, we're just thinking outside the box here. Undeniably, it is sending a strong message
Yeah.
to whomever will have to think twice about,
Mhm. About crossing Putin.
Putin. Yeah, that just, hey, it's their country. Who are we? I mean, more power to you.
I mean,
Wh-
I
wh- wh-
personally don't think killing people is appropriate.
If
but,
not,
know.
but at the same time, what do we have done?
Well,
We have
yeah,
done.
yeah.
Let's we
yeah.
call it. I don't shy away. If I am to fight for something that I
Mhm.
believe in, and you end up having to do that,
Yeah.
yeah, I won't deny it.
Yeah, absolutely.
I won't deny it. But again, you can be doing that just for the sake of it, for
Yeah,
no
of
justification. Now
course,
that I
of
have a
course.
hard time with.
Agree.
I have rules for me, but again, I am not.
Mhm.
But I see your point.
Yeah.
It just well, he does it, but when we do it, it's kind of okay.
Right.
Because remember, we dropped also drones in some civilian areas in
Yeah.
Yemen. I was in Yemen, I was in Afghanistan, I was in Iraq, and
Mhm.
there were some calls that shouldn't be
Right.
made at all. Who agreed to that? I don't know.
Right.
I wasn't in that operating room inside the Pentagon. So
Well, you probably should have been. We would have had a much better
I
outcome.
was in one case, and I
Yeah.
won't go further in this. I was in one case where some decision had to be made, and I said no.
Mhm.
Because it's the wrong one, because whatever that decision was going to be
Yeah.
made, that will be unjust.
Yeah. Well,
And I
thank you for
voiced my
doing that.
concern of it.
Yeah.
And Washington backed down on that at that time. That was one
Wow.
incident I remember. It was because he wasn't right.
Yeah.
He wasn't right. I understand the war is horrible. I understand
Yeah.
conflicts are horrible, whatever. But you still have that obligation over doing the right thing.
Yeah.
You can't just
do.
assume, some of our military, I didn't see it. If I were there, I would step in.
Yeah.
You don't sort of, enemy or not, the humans.
They're human.
Yeah, you can't, there are rules. This is why we have what we call the
Mhm.
rule of engagements.
Yeah.
But, ask Asians back in Vietnam, in Cambodia, even for us American soldiers who've been in those,
Yeah.
they've been exposed to Agent Orange.
Yeah.
What does it
Oh,
do to-
absolutely.
Yeah, it's
Hugely.
kind of, we gotta be fair when we
Right. And
when we-
now, there's lawsuits for it. I mean,
Yeah.
so it's actually interesting that you bring that up, because there is always, when there's a war, there's always a campaign to dehumanize the side that whoever it is fighting. It's not just the US. Every
That's true.
country who goes into war, the only way you can justify going to war is if the other party isn't human. Right? If they're not human, and if they're enemies, then you can justify taking them out. But the reality is that, you go over there and you realize they're people.
Yeah, it's a war is horrible.
Yeah.
So that's all I can say about this
Well,
one.
thank you for sharing that with
Of
us.
course. Next
you-
next thing we need to ask about is the next question.
Okay.
about the person who's going to be replacing Prigozhin, because
Great
it's
question,
already
yeah.
one in line here. His name is Andrei Truchev.
Mm-hmm.
Andrei Truchev. Actually, I have a picture of him. Let me share it with you guys here so you'll see. Now, this guy has a military background. And he spent, I was aware of him back in the day when I was traveling to the Middle East. That's his name, right? This is Andrei Truchev. You
There
see
he
it?
is.
Right
Yep.
there. Yeah. He is now the new man's candidate
Mhm.
to lead Wagner. So
And interesting, look at the way that that's phrased. Putin's new man
it's because
to lead Wagner.
actually
right?
because he was appointed by Putin
Yep.
in this time around.
And that is a very interesting piece of information.
Yeah. Well, the reason being because now if he's appointed by Putin, he knows who to report to.
Right.
I think the problem with Prigozhin, in my opinion, he should have, if he had quarrels with the Department of Defense, whatever,
Mm-hmm.
go request a meeting with Putin, sit down,
Right.
and express your opinions.
Right.
But you don't do it in that manner of. Now this guy, Andrei is going to report to that. Just FYI, Andrei spent time in Syria. He's the one who defeated ISIS, by the way.
Oh wow. That's kind of a big
he's
deal.
no small. He looks gentle, whatever.
Yeah.
No, he's highly trained.
Yeah.
And he knows what he's getting into, and there is a reason to why President Putin put him in charge of that. So, which means also have a different meaning. Also,
Yeah.
that means now what a Russian president wants, it wants to have a close control on Wagner.
Exactly.
That is the point.
Exactly. That's actually very interesting, and I wonder how, because Wagner is, they're non-military, they're private military, right? Which
That's
is
correct.
different than state military.
Except that those individuals are former military. Those are special ops.
Yeah.
We do the same.
Absolutely. We do. Blackwater, Eric Prince.
Blackwater. Eric Prince himself was a SEAL team.
Yeah.
So I was asked to join Blackwater.
Oh, really?
Back then. So.
Well, I'm glad you didn't.
No.
Thank you for being here.
I'm done with that world.
But
so the idea of majority of them are former retired Navy SEAL, former military, somebody who didn't finish up 20 and left. Because remember, the one thing I'll say it, there's nothing shame about it, is the training you get.
Yeah.
That training stays for life with you.
Yeah.
I'll admit it. It's this is not about doing aerobics or whatever. We're talking about skills that stays with you for life. We're talking about survival.
Yeah.
So you find yourself in a forest, you're not going to panic.
Right.
Because you know what's need to be done to survive, to get to safety, whatever that is. So that's why those individuals are highly trained. Wagner is no different. They are highly trained. They are, specialized in certain tactics. And this is why for us, we don't train on certain tactics and all that. And we have the same. So.
Well, and I think it's interesting that you bring that up, because that's why they're different. That's why correct. They're different than regular military. First of all, they're not state military, so they have different rules than a country's military might have.
That's correct.
But they're also very highly trained.
They are.
And that's very different from an 18-year-old walking in who doesn't really know what he's doing, because wars are primarily fought by young men and young women now too. But wars are primarily fought by young people who have a little bit of training, but who don't really know what they're doing, because nobody at 18 knows what they're doing. Let's be clear about that.
That's for sure.
But this is a different type of trained individual entirely.
Yeah, and this is, again, just to go back to my point about why now you don't hear much about military intervention in Niger.
Yeah.
Because Wagner is already there.
Yeah.
Wagner in the area. I don't know where exactly. All I know is that they are in the area, close by.
Yeah.
This is why France is thinking twice, even ECOWAS itself thinking twice, because they know what it means. This is going to go outside the border of Niger, and regional countries, their population now are rising up against their governments for supporting any military intervention.
Yeah. Well,
So-
their military intervention, I think, would be a flat out loss.
Oh!
And I think they think so too.
I read up an analysis about the 4 tactical elements of going into this.
Yeah.
None of them
Yeah.
will work. None of them will work because the geography
Mm-hmm.
won't help, and it will be disastrous, and it will expand.
Yep.
It will drag in France. It will drag in the U.S.
Yeah.
We do have military base in Niger.
Yeah.
By the way.
Yeah. That's.
Oh yeah. As a matter of
Yeah.
fact, if I am not mistaken, it was a conversation back then about where to put the AFRICOM. You know, we have Central
Yeah.
Central Command.
Yeah.
We have the Pacific Command and so forth. Well,
Mhm.
Africa, when the decision was made about African Command,
Yeah.
it was one of those part of the world there. It was also part in Djibouti. The third option was Morocco.
That's
But
interesting.
Morocco turned it
Yeah.
down, and the final decision was made to have it in Germany. That's where AFRICOM is.
That's an interesting location for that.
Well,
I
it's
think.
because why? Germany, we have over 30, almost 40,000 troops in Germany.
Yeah.
Germany has no sovereignty.
Yeah.
You know, I'll say it. Germany is a lost cause.
Well, I mean, after World War II, Germany was more or less obliterated, right?
Yeah, but
Well,
we
after World War I and after World War
we
II.
decided for it to be that way. That's why
Yeah.
this slogan, the saying within NATO,
Mhm.
keep the Americans in, Russians out, and Germans down.
Yeah.
That was for a reason. That's why
Yeah.
you're still seeing, actually over almost 50,000 troops. So the decision was made to put the African Command
Mhm.
in
In Germany.
which is odd.
That's very, very
Yeah,
odd. Very odd. You know, and that brings up what we talk about, what you talk about all the time, where geopolitics doesn't happen in a vacuum. And most of the things that are going on, we don't know about them.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. So.